happens to these same factors in the short term? क्योंकि see, ये मैंने बहुत ही माइक्रो पिक्चर दिया जो कि इन्वेस्टर्स के काम आता है, क्योंकि इन्वेस्टर्स जो कि 10 साल 15 साल के लिए इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं वो सोचेंगे कि चलो मैं इक्विटी में रहूं कि मैं गोल्ड में रहूं. ओके, एंड इस चीज के लिए सिंपली प्लॉट समथिंग लाइक गोल्ड टू सेंसेक्स फॉर एग्जांपल. ये किसी ने कोई बहुत ही कम लोग करते हैं, और मैं आपको दिखाता हूँ व्हाट डज इट एक्चुअली look like, and I'll take MCX, so that's in Indian prices. So this is a ratio of Sensex to gold because it has more history. Sensex का history 1979 तक है और सोने का भी history मैंने backdate किया हुआ है international prices से. तो ये चार्ट पे जब आप देख रहे हो तो आपको दिखता है कि equity prices were outperforming gold from here on a long term basis.
ये Sensex divided by gold है क्या sir?
Sensex divided by gold.
ठीक है. Okay.
So it shows outperformance of Sensex relative to gold till 2008 on a bank level. उसके बाद जो 2008 का हाई है ये रेशियो निकाल नहीं पाए. Although you do see equities outperforming here in a short period, but from 2008 it made a lower high, and now it's actually dropping. Okay. So these are all signs of you shifting from the autumn phase to the winter phase, where gold and inflationary assets tend to do better than equity prices. It becomes very, very difficult to beat inflation. This is the phase that we are right now witnessing. Now, this has long-term effects. So this is where when you see this kind of a ratio change, you want to have some amount of your gold in your asset or in your portfolio.
Right.
So, and people who are more interested in further upside, they end up, instead of gold, they go for gold mining companies, जो कि इंडिया में बहुत ही कम listed हैं. तो US में देखना पड़ता है, but India में there are a couple of funds from Kotak or from DSP which are investing in US gold mining companies. So those are actually of interest to people who want a higher return from just underlying gold. Otherwise, having some gold as a hedge against inflation becomes an important part during this phase. Okay.
सर इसमें आपने बात बोली तो बस मेरा मन कर गया ये एक प्रश्न पूछने का. इसमें अभी वॉरेन बफेट साहब ने गोल्ड माइन कंपनी में स्टेक खरीदा है. तो लोग काफी उनको क्रिटिसाइज कर रहे थे कि घूम फिर के आप भी गोल्ड में आई गए. बट पीपल आर नॉट अंडरस्टैंडिंग दैट ही इज बाइंग गोल्ड माइन कंपनीज, ही इज नॉट बाइंग गोल्ड. तो उसमें एक छोटा सा पर्सपेक्टिव दीजिए ना आप अपना, फिर हम आगे बढ़ते हैं.
तो ऐसा होता है कि गोल्ड माइनिंग कंपनी के जो शेयर हैं वो गोल्ड के भाव के साथ ही बढ़ते हैं, और दे आर ऑलवेज अ लीवरेज बेट. वो ऐसा है जैसे आप सोचो कि मैं हिंडाल्को लूं, तो हिंडाल्को में आप क्या खरीद रहे हो? आप कॉपर प्राइस नहीं खरीद रहे हो, आप कॉपर कंपनी खरीद रहे हो जो कि डेट लेके वो कॉपर माइन बनाता है. तो जब डेट लेके कॉपर माइन बढ़ाता है तो डेफिनेटली हिज शेयर प्राइस गोज अप मोर देन द अंडरलाइन बिकॉज ही गेट्स एन इम्पैक्ट ऑफ द लीवरेज. सो सेम थिंग है गोल्ड माइनिंग कि मैं अगर सोना खरीदता हूं तो सोने का भाव अगर 20% बढ़ता है तो गोल्ड माइनिंग का भाव जो है वो 3 times ऑफ दैट बढ़ेगा, मे बी 60%. ओके, सो यू गेट sense of maybe 3 times, 4 times, 5 times a higher return in the underlying stock than simply buying the commodity.
सही है.
ओके, तो ये लॉन्ग टर्म की सोचने के बारे में फैक्ट हो गया. अभी इससे हम धीरे धीरे शॉर्ट टर्म पे आएंगे जो कि ट्रेडर्स के लिए थोड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है. And especially traders who are in the commodities or precious metals trading space, they have to continue to see what is happening in this single thing, which is the dollar. The chart है dollar index का dating all the way back to 1977. और इसमें what we see is that the dollar at a very broad level goes through multiple bull and bear phases. Okay.
जी.
So every time the dollar goes through a bear phase, it usually is positive for not only gold and silver, but also all the commodities, whether it's oil, whether it's copper, base metals, agro commodities, and so on. So you have had a couple of these phases even in the 70s. So when I talked about the counter type cycle and we looked at the 70s में US में inflation आया था, that was from 1968 to 1980, this entire period when the dollar was falling. उसके बाद they raised interest rates, got inflation under control, and the dollar actually went up. Again, the recent period that everybody remembers, at least most recently, is 2001 to 2008, when gold prices went up, oil prices went up, commodity prices went up, emerging markets went up. This is also a phase which is associated with a falling dollar. Now, whenever you have a rising dollar, like whether you had it in the 1990s here or whether you had it in the in the 2010s over here, you will see that there are all types of crises. Commodity prices are coming down. Commodity producing countries like Brazil are in trouble. Zimbabwe is in trouble. Venezuela, oil producer, is in trouble. All this happens during periods where the dollar is going up. In the 1990s, we had Asian, Southeast Asian crisis, Russian crisis, and so on, long-term capital management. All those things happened during the rising dollar environment.
Right.
So because we are in a dollar-based currency environment, this trend becomes an important thing that most traders will track, not just from a asset class choice perspective, but also when you're trading commodities in the short term, it has a very, very direct impact on commodity prices. So you need to know what is the trend. My current sense, like here, for example, is that the dollar is going through another 7-year down cycle phase. So this is usually a good phase for, again, commodities. And we saw the worst of it right now. So you saw oil prices go almost negative in the futures market, but actually in spot, it hit around $6 to $8. Copper made a similar low point. And now, as the dollar is rolling over from an uptrend to a downtrend, you have seen the bottom in oil, you have seen the bottom in commodities, you saw a bottom in silver, and so on and so forth. All of them are going up. And accordingly, now the interest has come back to uh, precious metal stocks, mining companies, metal companies, and so on and so forth. तो ये पूरा एक trend जो है gold से समझ में आता है. And even when they are trading short term, तो short term traders also need to track whether gold is going up or down. जहाँ पे भी थोड़ा भी ऊपर जाता है, for example, there's a small rally, you will find that at that point of time there's a correction. ये चीज आप ओवरले करके भी देख सकते हो, क्योंकि आप अगर गोल्ड के फ्यूचर्स का चार्ट लोगे और इस चीज को इस पे ही हम लोग ऊपर डाल के देख लेंगे, तो ऐसे ही समझ में आ जाएगा. Not very difficult to understand that when you see a falling dollar, you see rising prices of gold, and similarly other commodities. And so whenever there is a bounce back in this, then you see the opposite happen. Here you see this flat flattening out, you're seeing a consolidation going on. If this starts falling again, you see another rise here. This is what keeps happening. This is very tight correlation. These correlations are there long term also. So in a long time horizon, we can see that dollar bull markets, you saw an entire bear market here in gold. So for almost 2 years, it was falling during a period when the dollar was going up. Now, as it is starting to roll over, you're seeing a gold bull market come back.
Right.
Okay. Now, similarly, there is also an intercorrelation which is there between bonds and equities. Now, I mentioned that bond market hai or equity market hai, autumn phase mein both go up. So that is true from a 50-60 year point of view. So 60 saal, 70 saal mein both bonds and equities in the US have gone up. This is a chart of the US Dow Jones Index at the bottom and the bond market at the top. Both are rising. Interest rate bhi kam ho raha hai, equity bhi बढ़ रही है. But very, very short term, bonds and equities in the US go through an inverse correlation. And the reason happens is that whenever, and this is because a lot of the assets in the US are structured in a way कि जहाँ पे वहाँ पे जो फंड्स हैं वो क्या करते हैं कि उनको जब इक्विटी एक्सपोजर बढ़ानी होती है वो बॉन्ड मार्केट का एक्सपोजर घटाते जाते हैं. और ये बहुत ही सिस्टमैटिक प्लान होता है उनका, मॉडल बेस्ड, कंप्यूटर बेस्ड, कि ये चीज घटनी है तो ये चीज बढ़नी है, और ये चीज घटनी है तो ये चीज बढ़नी है. तो सिस्टमैटिक कई फंड्स जो है अपना पोर्टफोलियो एडजस्ट करते हैं, स्पेशली दी इंश्योरेंस कंपनीज और द पेंशन फंड्स. They do this adjustment on an ongoing basis. So इसका impact क्या होता है कि whenever you get a rally in bonds, you get a sell off in equities. So short term में there is an inverse correlation between the two of them. So now when we look at this short term, you see bonds are going up and equities are going down. And now when US equities are going up, then bonds are doing absolutely nothing. So they don't necessarily fall. ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है कि वो गिर जाए. But they will stop performing. When one is performing, the other is not performing. They could fall or they go sideways.
Investments in the securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.